This is a rite of passage for you.
I feel a bit nervous, but a bit excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every Magic Castle first timer gets their own card.
Okay.
There's 52 cards in the deck.
Right.
Do you have a favorite card?
I do.
You do? Mm-hmm. There's no way I could know what it is.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Ace of Spades.
Okay. Now listen, Ace of Spades is a very popular favorite card. Mm-hmm. Do you want to change your mind to a less popular favorite card?
Right, sure. Okay.
You can keep the Ace of Spades.
I feel like Lemmy wouldn't want me to change it.
Motorhead strong.
Yeah.
Okay. Ace of Spades. Ace of Spades. Where is it? There it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. That is Nate's card. And here's what's interesting is that everybody's got a card. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is Connor's favorite card here. Connor loves the Jack of Diamonds. This is a Susan card. Susan's a 10 of Diamonds. There's 52 names. Milt, that's the founder of the Magic Castle. You get the idea. The hard part was coming up with 52 names for these cards. There's a lot, but you picked the Ace of Spades.
That's it.
Which just so happens to be Nate's card.
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah,
a throne here.
that's what I thought. I was like, this feels perfect. This is about as magical as it gets in the deepest bowels of the Magic Castle. We're in the library where so many amazing magicians have learned and done things that we have no concept of. Maybe you do. I am a mere mortal.
This is the only room in the Magic Castle where non-magicians are not allowed. So this is a rare exception.
Yeah,
from
probably because we were so early, no one can stop us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is
You're not allowed to crack a book open.
I won't touch anything. Wanted to talk to you about this new special because it's a bit of both. It's magic, it's comedy, it's overall togetherness focused on what you call magic lovers in the title of the special. But it's also, you kind of find a way to talk to both the magic lovers and the skeptics at the same time. So what was your sort of mission going into it? How did you want to convey this talent that you have to people who may want to just be there for the experience or kind of want to see how you do what you do?
Yeah, I think people when they hear magic, I think they come into the theater with an idea about how they feel about it, about the art form as a whole. You know what I mean? There's the people who love magic who already know that they like magic, and I love those people. But the people who they bring with them, they sometimes they look at magic as a puzzle or as a challenge, or they just, they get hung up on the idea, like, does this guy really think that we think that he's a wizard? Like, no. So I like the idea of addressing that elephant in the room right off the bat, because I really want to do a show for everybody. I'm not trying to turn the skeptics into, magic lovers necessarily, but I want them to know that this show is also for them. So I kind of like to do a trick that they think they know how I do, and then let them know you're right, and then let them know you're wrong. And it's kind of like a little bit of a mini roller coaster. It sets the tone for the night that everyone can just hopefully sit back, relax, and feel the wonder.
Yeah, it's about showmanship, the kind of thing you learn here at the castle. Do you have like a memory of when you first came to the Magic Castle?
Man, okay. So I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and I started magic when I was 12 years old. And at a magic swap meet, I bought a stack of like Genie magazines, which is a magazine that used to be published by the Larson family in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. And I would read about the Magic Castle and see these pictures and just fantasize about this place. And when I was 14, we did a family trip out here because my mentor was performing here, Harry Monty. He was performing in the close-up room and put us on the list. And we pulled up at night at the valet. I'm in a suit. My mom, dad, they're all dolled up. And that is the moment I learned that the club is 21 and up at night. No exceptions. And listen, in a suit, I looked a little older than 14, like maybe 14 and a half.
Right.
But they were like, you need to come back for brunch. And that wasn't an option. So I was half devastated, but also I was like, Mom, Dad, you have to go. You have to go in. So they went in and they ate some food at the bar. They had some drinks. They saw Harry Monty perform. They might have been in here for 90 minutes, 2 hours. I sat in the valet parking lot alone. I think I cried
Oh no.
at some point. And then when they came back out, I had them tell me all about it. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to go one day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the club's 21 and up at nighttime.
You've advanced now. You've gotten yourself quite a career.
Look who's not crying.
Right, exactly. And I was just wondering, because you've had this long career now doing magic for people on the street, strangers, the prank show. Why did it feel like right now is the right time to do a special centered around the thing that you have been doing for so long?
Making a special where the magic is done on stage, like, because that's my roots, you know, that's what I've been doing for 30 years, is entertaining people in person and touring around and, you know, turning skeptics into believers batch by batch. It just took a long time to convince, I think, the powers that be that now is also the right time for them to greenlight this magic comedy special, you know, because there hasn't been one in a long time, you know what I mean?
I can't think of one, yeah, but that's definitely, to your point, comedy is as big as it's probably ever been, and I feel like magic kind of comes along, like they're cousins in a way.
They're cousins.
So how do you view them as related?
Well, mine are kissing cousins a little bit, you know?
Very close.
Yeah, like I feel like my live show that I tour with, it was finally to a place where I felt like it held up for the people on the couch. Because magic it's a live art form, you know what I mean? There's so much doubt that can get in your mind when you are not there in person watching it. You know what I mean? The smartest people know all the, you know, you're scrolling the feed, you see a magic trick, you know, you're like, especially these days, you've got AI and deep fakes and you know, like, so I think magic more than ever is this thing that is this beautiful thing to be experienced live and in person. And I wanted to try as best I could to make the people who are watching it on Netflix feel like they were there, you know, in the theater that night, and make them feel that they're a part of the audience.
Especially when you're talking about bringing people into it and making the audience a part of it, you have this thing with numbers.
What's your zip code?
Zip code 50701.
Thank you. 50701 is Waterloo, Iowa.
It is.
It is. What's up?
I mean, that's clearly something that you spent a long time obsessing about at some point as a kid. I think you talked about.
I started as a kid, just loving the like math and magic had this connection, you know what I mean? And you know, mnemonics, memory palace, that kind of, like, I was always fascinated by that. But then when I graduated college, I started touring college campuses all over the country, doing the NACA circuit, and I hit all 50 states pretty quick, and that was where this little kind of love of just zip codes and telling people where they were from kind of came to life again, and gradually became a part of the act. Because I feel like people like to be seen for where they're from. They like to think about the nostalgia of where they came from. And I feel like mixing some things that are real in with some things that are obviously illusion, you know, is kind of a fun, it throws a little extra layer on there and makes people like, wonder what the heck's up with that guy? Yeah.
When it comes to pushing yourself and your art form, are there ways that you do that when you're off stage or when you're thinking about tricks? What's sort of your thought process when it comes to developing a magic trick?
There's never one consistent path. Like sometimes like an idea will come fully formed and I'm like, oh, I got it, you know. And that normally is because it was inspired by something that happened in my life. Like my son, Jack, he really did ask me, what's inflation? And I really was like, I got a magic trick that'll explain this. And then I was like, you know, I bet people would relate to that, because anyone who has kids knows, like, you get these questions from your kids that are often brilliantly hard to answer, because you're like, it just is that way. You know what I mean?
Hard, yeah.
So it you know, that just kind of came from real life, and boom, it was in the show. Other things like sit on the back burners for years sometimes, where I'm just like, I have a crush on a trick and I know I want to do something with that, but I don't know what it is, or I don't know what it's about. You know, like time travel I've been obsessed with for a long time, and I think I finally cracked like a trick where I can create the true feeling of time travel on stage that I'm excited to tour with pretty soon. For me, the trick itself is never enough. Like because I feel like it also needs to be the delivery system for some sort of idea, whether it's something funny that'll stick with people or something autobiographical or something, just sincere or something like some angle on some hot take that a trick can kind of help encapsulate that. That's kind of the secret sauce for me, and it's hard to maybe tick all those boxes at once.
It feels like, at least when you're on stage, you're doing a lot of things sort of spontaneously, but I'm sure that that's also part of meant to feel that way. But have you ever gotten caught up in a situation where you're like, I gotta switch things around real quick to make this trick work?
There's a lot of thinking on the fly. There's a lot of trying to be in the moment, like obviously crowd work is, being the kind of the genre that it is in comedy. Like, I feel like that is a big thing that makes every show feel different. And I'm picking these people out of the audience. I'm kind of going off gut instinct. And, I'm trying to bring whatever the best part of them is out while they're up there, because they're the avatar for the people who are watching in their seats or at home.
Right.
And, sometimes I misread people, and I'm like, well, they're not the fun-loving mensch that I thought they were. And I have to kind of pivot how I present it. Or like, oh man, because I've done some random like private shows. My agent called me once years ago and was like, we've got some guy who wants you to do a show at his house in Maui. They're not going to tell you who it is until after you agree to it and sign an NDA. I was like, okay. So it turned out to be, this was like 12 years ago, Peter Thiel. Okay. In Maui. And the show was just for him and his boyfriend. So it's two people. Now that's an awkward, I'm coming to do a show for an audience,
right.
And I use a lot of people in the show. And in this case, it was like, all right, I guess I'm going
to
go back and forth. Yeah, exactly. I brought my wife, so it was like the four of us. And it was, the applause breaks weren't as prevalent as I'm used to. So it was tense. And then after the show, we're just sitting in the hot tub and he's telling me how I do every trick. It was humiliating, actually.
Wow.
That guy's too smart.
I mean, for you as someone who's, I don't know if this is like a chef who goes out to eat or something, but when you see magic done,
yeah,
you ever see that as an audience member? Like, are you picking stuff apart? Are you the skeptic, or are you trying to be the magic lover?
I am definitely trying to be the magic lover.
Okay.
I'm sure you feel this way when you, read and take in great journalism and great writing, where you don't want to pick it apart and be kind of put your writer mind on. Like when someone can actually whisk you away, like it feels really, really good. So I know how a lot of magic works, but when I can watch and be fooled like that, that's what made me want to be a magician in the first place. You know what I mean? So I try not to overthink that.
You bring kids, I don't want to give too much away, but you bring kids on stage at a certain point.
I do.
You being a dad yourself, you talk about that throughout the special. Like, why are kids in a way, like the ideal crowd participants for something like this?
I love being a dad. I like to think it's the most important job I'll ever have. And I can say that because I am a magician.
And what makes them kind of a unique source of basically inspiration for magic in a way?
I got my start doing shows at kids' birthday parties. So I love performing for kids. And then I, for years, did the comedy club circuit where there's no kids, but there's drunk adults. Kids and drunk adults.
Very similar.
Similar, loose commentary. You know what I mean? They'll say what they're feeling. Kids are really good at calling out your tricks sometimes. Like people think, oh, it must be easy to amaze kids. No, they are so smart. Often harder to misdirect, harder to kind of just, psychologically go the way that you predict somebody would. Like my son, I'll do a new trick for him and he'll boom be like, I think, is it this? And I'll be like, yeah, it is that.
Dang, that's cool.
But I think what's great about, when I tour, I've got families in the audience, I've got couples, I've got, date nights, family date nights. Like my target audience is alive. Okay. Like I've got everybody. And I love, when I do a trick with kids, like I did at the end of the show there, like I feel like they're able to forget that this is being filmed and they behave authentically, and when you can see kind of like the wonder and excitement on their face when you blow their mind, or that when they're part of something that blows the audience's mind, like I think everyone relives a little smidge of their childhood in that, you know what I mean? because I'm not doing a kid show. It's just it's a human show. It's for everybody. But I think we all kind of like to remember, and parents often are reminded of this when they have a kid. You relive your childhood a little bit, and I think we often become really cynical over the years, and it's nice to kind of remember like how pure just wonder and joy can be.
That to me feels like sort of what the heart of your special seems to, and you talk about it, but bringing people together. You have to, we were talking about the two groups, the lovers and the skeptics,
Mm-hmm.
but your goal is to sort of bring them together. Do you find that happens at different points in the show whenever you're performing, or is it always kind of like, I don't know, you have something in mind that kind of can help unite the room?
I think, the first bit that I do with the box on the stool, that tends to kind of turn these kinds of people into like, these kinds of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I love, which is kind of like, okay, this is not what I thought. I thought I had them there. All right, I'm listening. And then hopefully by the end they become kind of like these kinds of people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just back relaxed. And it doesn't happen at the same time for everybody. Everybody's got a different therapy journey. Some people, they're cured in one session. Others, it takes a full show.
Yeah.
But over the course of the show, like I try to draw upon my real life, and magic is inherently not the most relatable art form. You know what I mean? Because it's full of secrets.
Mm-hmm.
We're honest that we're lying to you. We're honest that it's full of secrets. But you see a talented musician, you see those fingers working, you see the work. You know what I mean? You see a brilliant comic. You see the insights. But with magic, we have to make it look like it's nonchalant. You know what I mean? So you're not seeing all the mental gymnastics that brought you there. So in this unrelatable art form, I try to at least bring as much of my own life that is relatable into it. And I think that is what maybe makes the skeptics sit back and, relate to something and hopefully connect.
Well, and I feel like if you turn someone's dollar bill into 100, they'll be a fan for life.
Right? That's right.
Has it ever happened where you're like something like you're like, I guess I owe you $100, or is it?
Here's the thing, like they always say like the show must go on, right? And they don't know you screwed up until you kind of let them know you screwed up. So I nothing is a fail until I succumb to that. So I try never to. I mean, and I've had some. Man, I was doing a birthday party when I first moved to LA in Burbank, in the backyard. Beautiful day. I used to work with animals. I had a bird and a bunny in my show. So I would open the show by making my dove appear, and I would close the show by making my bunny appear. Boom, boom, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's happy. I make the dove appear. Little gust of wind. It flies up into a tree. That's not supposed to happen. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I act like it's part of the show. Behold, hello up there. Well, she'll be down later for the finale, and she didn't come down. And I make the bunny appear, and they're petting the bunny, and I'm kind of like, and I've got another birthday party to get to. I told the parents I'm going to come back in like 2 hours, and I might bring a ladder, and I'll try to get up there and get her back. And when I came back 2 hours later, they told me they were not excited to see me because they told me that right after I left, a hawk started circling in the sky.
Wow.
And swooped in during Happy Birthday.
No.
And snatched that bird and took her away. So I could have been like, ta-da, that was supposed to happen, but that was unavoidable. So I don't work with animals anymore.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I work with people.
And you're bringing new rounds of people into this new tour that you're about to do after, once the special comes out.
Yeah.
Or you're in the midst of a tour, but can you talk about sort of like where things are going with you in terms of what you're doing around the country right now?
Yeah, so my new tour, it's called the One for the Ages tour. And, and One for the Ages in that it's for all ages. But I also kind of, just enjoy hopefully doing magic and giving people a night that they'll kind of talk about for a long time. Like maybe it's a date night where they, because it's really about the people. It's about giving people an opportunity to create core memories at a show, and giving people a show that they can look forward to or hopefully all get excited about going to. And just remember, like, that was the night that Grandma and Grandpa were there, and we had everybody there, you know, like you get to see somebody smiling and cackling in a way that that burns itself in your memory, you know. So it's special to be a part of that, and I'm excited. This is the first time that I will have been on Netflix doing what I do the most, which is do magic on stage. You know, it's one thing to do magic on the street, but you don't necessarily watch that and think like, I want to go find that guy on the street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you see it on stage, you're kind of like, oh, I want to be in that audience. Hopefully, you know, that's what people are thinking. So I'm excited to kind of hopefully cultivate a new batch of cynics and magic lovers,
Right,
and bring them along for the ride.
Make this a thing, and you kick the door open. Now you've made the first trick happen, which is this special.
Exactly.
So more to come. Hopefully.
More to come.
Well, Justin, thanks so much for joining us. Loved having you here, and where, Justin?
Don't show me.